Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas, and today is our New Year's special on Light Talk.
Good morning. This is Stan in Gainesville, Florida. It's Saturday, the end of the year, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And this is David, coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore area of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 142, our special New Year's special edition of Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers. Today we will be discussing the past year in lighting and our New Year's lighting resolutions. Oh, I have too many of them. Hey, but before we get started, we forgot to make this addendum to our interview with Bobby Harrell. As we mentioned in the show, Bobby is an actual barbecue connoisseur. Well, for our barbecue fans out there, Bobby has been running a blog of all the best barbecue joints in dozens of cities here in the U.S. and internationally. And these are cities that he actually travels to, so we know that he actually tastes this and he's still alive, so none of these places will poison you. That's the important thing. So if you find yourself in the middle of nowhere and you're craving some great barbecue, check out Bobby's blog at ShinerbobsBarbecue.com. That's right, that's ShinerbobsBBQ.com. So let's get started with our New Year's show. Steve has our first listener question.
And it comes from Rhonda in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she writes, when I watch the CNN New Year's Eve broadcast with Anderson Cooper, all I see behind him is a mosaic wall of moving advertisements. I thought they were broadcasting the show from Times Square. Well, they are broadcasting the show from Times Square. So I think, I don't know if you've ever been to Times Square, but Times Square has 70 digital billboards in that block. There's also 45 traditional billboards. So, keep in mind that Times Square sees about 350,000 people pass through it on any given day. So that is a huge area for advertisement. There's a 10 million four-screen LED display. It covers 25 stories on the facade of one Times Square. That's the building behind Anderson Cooper where the ball drops. So these high-tech ads are designed to really, pull the crowds in. It's people go there for some reason and stand in front of a billboard and take a selfie. And companies, fight very hard to get their advertisement going in Times Square. So it's not enough just to have money. You have to have some type of commercial clout also to get your billboard there. So, you see this going on behind it. And then you think about the impact that Anderson Cooper is going to have on New Year's Eve. CNN is the highest rated New Year's Eve show. There are 4 other networks who have shows going that night, but everyone tunes into Anderson Cooper. So, think about it. Think about it when you go to the Grand Canyon. When you go to the Grand Canyon, you go out there to see that canyon and those rivers and the landscape. And when you go to Times Square, you're going to go see advertisements. That's the attraction of Times Square.
It's true. I have some nostalgia as a New York kid in Times Square. And of course, New Yorkers never went to Times Square on New Year's Eve. We got the hell out of town. The tourists do that. But I do have a piece of nostalgia. That tradition of advertising in Times Square goes back a long way. And it was a lot about, it's sort of one of these one-upmanship kind of things. Like, what could we do that's better than the last advertiser? The Coke sign was classic. But the one that I remember as a kid, which I love to see, which this is totally analog, is the guy named Douglas Lee, who was an advertising marketing guy who actually taught at the University of Florida. Did this billboard, and I can't remember which cigarette company it was. It might have been Chesterfield's or Marlboro or Winston. I can't remember the brand. And it was a guy smoking a cigarette was the billboard, but his mouth was a hole. And they developed this machine that was behind the opening of the guy's mouth, and it literally blew humongous smoke rings. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if it was steam or...
It was the Marlboro Man. It was Marlboro.
No.
Okay,
this is pre-Marlboro. This
might be Chesterfield.
I think this is going back all the way. I think it was a Sailor, actually. And I think it
Sailor. Yes,
it opened just after the Second World War. I believe, and it stayed there until Marlboro got the branding rights and changed it out.
We'll have to look it up. We'll have to research it. But I just remembered it was so cool to see those huge smoke rings. And I would even say that that's probably why bad young Stan, smoked. Because I wanted to be like the guy on the billboards.
You wanted to be a sailor.
And I did, but I really did learn how to blow terrific smoke rings.
Okay.
Because it really inspired me.
There's nothing about lighting.
So I don't know if it's got anything to do with the question, but they've been doing that for a long time.
It has something to do with the question because I'm going to take a different view than you guys did, because I think that Rhonda is concerned that she doesn't know what the hell it is because all she sees are LED screens. And that view of Times Square used to be so beautiful when you could actually see the architecture of the buildings. And right now, you can no longer see the architecture of the buildings. So they could be doing this in a TV studio for all they care. CGI the whole damn ball dropping, have lasers coming out of everywhere, maybe even part the sky and have God's hand come down, right? And say, hey, guys, it's New Year's. But, I think that's what the genesis of this question is that they've completely destroyed Times Square with these super high definition LED screens.
It's all about the money. It's all, the value of a square foot of that space in front of that building facade is so valuable. But, the guys who keep that stuff going, that's a behind the scenes story. There's a documentary about those guys who how they keep those screens maintained and so on. And it used to be they changed it more often, but it was very costly. Now you can change it, of course, digitally, but I don't know.
I think David's completely wrong. I'm just going to throw the gauntlet down right here. The thing that is destroying Times Square is Anderson Cooper's host, Andy Cohen. Don't you remember last year? He got busted by the Times Square Association for having an umbrella. Remember, it was pouring rain. He's out there had a little see-through umbrella, and the Times Square Association does not allow umbrellas in Times Square on televised events because you might block a camera shot.
Yeah, is that true?
He went to war with them last year. And what was kind of great about it was Anderson Cooper was pointing out other news people who had umbrellas, and they took theirs away from them too. So they're all standing out in the rain now, and they actually threatened CNN. If CNN didn't take Andy's umbrella away from him, they couldn't have the rights to be in Times Square this year.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, look it up. It was the most.
I believe you, but that's crazy.
They're arguing too. It's a security thing. That the umbrella, you never know what's happening with an umbrella. But it was kind of fun. Anderson Cooper was just soaked, and he looked at Cohen last year and said, well, at least you got a hood on your jacket. To keep the rain off your head.
And out of his earphones.
Like they can't put something, like they can't afford to put like a tarp over them or something. I don't know.
I think what it is they worry about blocking all those multi-million-dollar ads that are flashing behind them on television.
That's probably it. Right.
It's gotten so commercial. I think we got to return to the 70s when Times Square was filled with pornographic movie theaters and bums sitting outside, on the sidewalks. That's when New York was New York.
You could romanticize it, but I lived it, and I don't want to go back there.
But I'm talking New Year's Eve when everybody was equal.
Never. I was in Massachusetts on New Year's Eve, man. I got out of there.
All right. Well, I think we burned the subject out. Stan has our next question.
Toby in Dallas wants to know, what is the most important game-changing lighting product of 2019? Well, I don't know. I sort of went to LDI, and they sort of, I guess the wisdom of the crowd, they come up with like best product of the year, best new debut product of the year, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to default to the crowdsourcing of that and not have my own opinion per se. But these two sound pretty cool. I didn't see both of them. I saw one of them. The first one I didn't see, but I know that David and Steve saw it, so maybe they'll try.
No, I didn't. I wasn't even there. I was in Europe.
Oh, I always think you're there, even though you're not. You're in there in my mind, in spirit. But the Xtylos from Clay Paky is this new moving head light source that has a laser-based engine. And I didn't get to see it, but I think Steve talked about it. I did a little reading on it. It's kind of cool to think about, 0.5 degree narrow beam. That's like pretty great. It talks about that all the colors, no matter how rich they are still as bright as white. So that's kind of cool. I wish I had seen that. I would love to see what that looks like. And the imagery that they seem to be showing is to steal a term from one of our upcoming guests. The air graphics are pretty extraordinary from a light like this. So, but I think the move towards a laser-based, light engine we've been hearing about for a while, they've got this in there. It's patented. What I can't figure out from reading it, and maybe somebody else can figure it out, is exactly what the power draw is on this light. It tells me what it needs, but I can't really figure out what it would use at full, or how it how you would calculate whatever the power consumption on this is. But the other one that's maybe not as dramatic, but maybe is important to some people, is the City Theatrical, and they won the award for debuting a new product, which is a very small digital wireless dimmer for low voltage. And that seems pretty cool. Using multiverse dimmers, where you could, for like props and scenery and costumes. It's so small; it's like half the size of a pack of cigarettes. So I think that, I did see that one, and that's pretty cool, because that comes up a lot these days with LED tape and all their stuff. So that's sort of the notion of wireless dimming that's affordable and tiny, and you can put anywhere. Man, I want that for my house. I can use it on my Christmas lights outside. So anyway, that's a nice one to take a look at from City Theatrical.
I agree with Stan on this City Theatrical small dimmer, wireless dimmer. That is really important. And I use them all the time. And actually, City Theatrical has been, pioneering the whole, wireless DMX thing for many, many, many years. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really cool. Mm-hmm. Game changing, I don't know. It's just a better product, Yeah. Now,
like you say, it's a better iteration of wireless tape, but miniaturization of it and running. Yeah, I have a colleague who does a lot of LED costume work around the country, and for her, I think this is going to be really exciting to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I must say the most fascinating new product, kinda, is only because the technology is this light by Clay Paky. But what really pisses me off about it is that nobody knows how to pronounce its stupid name. I mean, Clay Paky for years has been going with this sort of Greek god thing, right? It gets kind of tiresome after a while, in my opinion. And now they're coming up with names that really don't exist. And this one is actually sort of pronounced, we think, was it like Xtylos? Xtylos? No. It's not two syllables. It's 3 syllables, at least according to our Google program. It's something like Xtylos or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It has a beam spread of 0.01 degrees. Xtylos. There you go. It's an Xtylos. Anyway.
Just doesn't roll off the tongue.
It has a very limited application, let's just say, because the maximum beam spread is 7 degrees. And, it's basically an air effects type machine, or, where you can actually do rainbows and stuff like that. But you can sort of do that, with GLP LED bars. I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's really important to have this new light source. But my curiosity is going to be what comes after it. And also, let's be frank, the lack of any real innovation from the other manufacturers, because the other manufacturers, at least from what I've seen this year, have sort of been just improving, which is a good thing, but they've been improving on their current products. So, yes, good thing, but as far as game changing, I don't know. But I was thinking, believe it or not, if indeed it does fulfill its promise, that the Rosco mix book could be game-changing. Right now, Rosco made a really deep mistake by not sending me one, because I really can't tell from looking at it. So the only Lumen brother that got a Rosco mix book, to my knowledge, is Stan. So Stan, how does it look? Just tell it. I know you don't want to give a full review, but how does it look to you?
Well, now I feel like guilty or something that I have one.
You should.
I'm very susceptible to guilt. You shouldn't do that to me. Well, it came. And I had a little bit of a stumble getting it to pair up Bluetooth wise. I'm not a big fan of Bluetooth lately for other reasons, but it did. And I turned it on, and it does what it does. Everything it says it's going to do so far. I had not used the cloud application yet to save anything to the cloud and use it in practice per se, on a production or on a project. But I will, I think, in the future. It says it dims, but it doesn't dim. Like it's on, off, or some sort of weird kind of 50%. So we could argue that, of course, when you dim an LED, you don't have color shift, but your eyes certainly perceive color differently at different intensities. So I think that's that feature. Maybe they'll have that in another iteration. The DMG company that makes the stuff, those guys they're really good at their LED work. So I think it's pretty accurate. It looks accurate to my memory of a color. I did not do any testing or comparison, like taking a tungsten lamp and a gel, and then using that to see how it works. I might, for fun, use my spectrometer and take a light source and pass light through a gel and measure. Well, actually, I could take the waveform diagrams from the swatch book, and then take a spectroscopy sample of the mix book, and I get a waveform from that, and then overlay them and see how precisely accurate it is scientifically. But that doesn't really matter so much. It really matters how it looks to your eye always, and how it looks on how it renders the things you're lighting. But I do think, it has been challenging to sort of make a choice about an LED. I think it's going to have great application. It looks pretty well built, and it did turn on and work pretty well. So it's just an early review, and there'll be more to come.
Yeah, I would be curious if you can recreate R99.
It did.
Well, how do you know? Did you have an R99 setting next to it? It just told you it was an R99.
It just told me that it did.
So
truth is in dispute.
Yeah,
truth is in dispute.
And this is what I'm going to say to Rosco right now, directly to Rosco. Until I have one in my hands, to me, it's just a gimmick. And it will continue to be a gimmick. So I'd be curious to see what Stan says, and I trust Stan's testing. If anyone can test it, Stan. So
I haven't done it yet. Haven't had time.
So Steve, what's your game-changing product?
Game-changing? I mean, there was one obvious game-changing thing there, and that was the Light Talk coffee mug.
Absolutely,
I think game-changing is everybody is working really hard to reduce the cost of moving fixtures. Everybody is working really hard to make them lighter. Everyone is working really hard to make them compact. So I think that's the game-changing thing, is that moving lights are becoming available to just about anybody who wants to buy one now. And that may be a wide range, going anywhere from, Clay Paky down to American DJ. There is something now that is more or less a quality product in every budget range for every application that you might want. Yeah. And for me, that's the game changer. I mean, we all remember back in the day when, a moving light was $30,000. Yeah. And, people said, well, they'll never be in the theater.
That's right.
But,
He's right.
But it's just like the march of the VCR. I remember when VCRs came out and they were $1,200. Now you can, if you want one, you can pick one up for $30. So I think making this technology available across all levels of the industry is the game changer.
So do you guys think that LED now has just pretty much established itself as the primary lighting source for a while? Because we have this new laser, the Xtylos or the Xtylos or the Xytos or whatever the hell they call it,
Xtylos.
right? Xtylos.
That's how Google says it. Xtylos.
Okay, so we have this laser thing and sort of like this beam light, right? If that's what you want, that's great. It'd probably work really cool. But LED right now seems to have established itself. And to me, people are just trying to create LED with the best color rendering as possible. So are we going to be here for like the next 10, 15, 20 years? What do you guys think?
I don't think they're trying to make the best LED with the best color rendering at all. I think what they're trying to make is it's good enough. And there's nothing wrong with it's good enough. But I think they're trying to make it's good enough for a price that everyone can afford. And also, it's good enough so the light isn't gigantic. It doesn't have heat management problems. And I'm not convinced that LED is the final step in this. I think LED is a bridge.
Yeah, we don't know how much that laser engine costs. It listed at 10,000 hours, which is not as anywhere near as long as we were seeing on the lifespans as LED. I think Steve's right. Good enough is a good point. Like in the museum world, that becomes a much more critical factor, right? So it depends upon what you're using. Is it good enough to light? Is the LED good enough to light in the National Portrait Gallery? Yes, it is now being done. Okay, wow. So when you talk about, right now, I know that Scott, we've had on the show, and his colleague Alex got an infusion of dollars. They're taking the 6,000 track heads at the American Art and National Portrait Gallery. It was all being converted to a solid state source. I think it is a Zicato is the base, XIC8. I think I can't pronounce it, but Zicato right. is the pronunciation of that LED light engine working with LSI. And every head, this is where I'm worried for them, every lamp is Bluetooth, is low energy Bluetooth controlled, which is going to give them a lot of data, which is what they need. It's also going to collect data. So the lamp becomes a data collection point, as well as how long it's on, how hot it is, how many lumens it's putting on the artwork. And they're making this huge transformation to a solid state source. So, and they do their homework before they make it. This is an $8 million project. And as Steve's point, but we all are not lighting George Washington's portrait, okay, every day. So there's a question of what do you need to do the job, and if you can get the job done that you're doing, and does it matter? I mean, we're kind of geeky. We could look at how good it is, and to the average, where is it relevant in terms of how good it is. So I think, whether the laser or whatever else comes next, plasma or other sources, and as things get more affordable, who knows? But right now, it's nice to see.
All right. John in Baltimore writes, what lighting effects should I look for when I watch the live concerts during the televised New Year's Eve celebrations? I think now's the time, because I'm gonna talk about corporate takeover of entertainment and Times Square that we've just talked about earlier. And I think it's a good time to announce that in 2 weeks, we're going to be broadcasting our interview with Mark Brickman. And one of the things Mark was talking about, and we were all talking about, was how the industry has changed from the 70s, the 80s, to now, basically, that the whole entertainment industry has changed. It's all corporate, and it's all about branding now. It's all these artists branding, and you're going to see images, you're going to see logos, you're going to see all that. So the lighting effects you're going to see are not going to be so strong that they pull away from the message that they're really sending, and that is, go to Target and buy all your Christmas presents there. What do you guys think?
I have to say one thing that I would like to see that I got a peek at LDI. There were two drone shows. One was outside, which I didn't get there in time. They had me blocked off. And the other one was in the Nights of Illumination Award on stage, which I did see. And it's the first time I've actually seen one live. I have to say, that's pretty cool. It's really quite magical, and it's dance, it's technology, it's like a modern version of fireworks with more create. I don't know. I think drone shows are coming, and I think Steve pinned it out about a year ago and said, "Look out, the drones are coming." And he's right, and I think it's going to be a really I think it has a lot of legs to do some really interesting things.
Yeah, like create, logos, corporate logos. You'll see a lot of those in here, I'm sure.
Well, no idea is inherently good or evil. It's how you apply it, right? So
yeah, drones have taken we actually have a Wham-It, once again, has come up with a new drone product that you're going to hear about in a few minutes. But yeah, I agree with Stan. Drones are next. Steve, what do you think?
I don't know. I just watch the concert and see if I find it interesting. I think the corporate takeover, though, if we look at this from a different point of view, I think what's happened is it has provided the artist and the design team with the budgets to push kind of into an area they would have never gone before. If you go back and you look at the Michael Jackson halftime show, and what you're going to see is he's doing that in the end zone. It's a daytime football game because they had no way to light the stadiums at night. And now look at where we've come in, 30 years from his performance. We now have an amazing kind of spectacle taking place. Look at the corporate sponsorship that you see behind the Olympics. So I think the corporate sponsors, yes, you've got to show, the wiener and the hot dog bun occasionally, but you have that budget you want to have whatever you want on the show. So I think that's been a pretty good thing. Also, I think you're seeing salaries go up. So I think there is, you're working for the man and you're getting the pigment you want. And you have to dance to the piper every now and then. But things have gotten, I think, better. They've gotten safer.
Sure.
I remember the Wild West. The Wild West was, your next door neighbor was the rigger. And he may or may not know how to rig. I mean, people are trying to figure it out. There's a vermet lift out there and a steel truss. The industry's growing up. And I think as the industry grows, and let's face it, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, then business is going to move into that.
You are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers. Light Talk is sponsored by
Wham-It Corporation's new personal protection security drone. So here we are again, at the end of another depressing year, and hoping against hope that next year will be better. So what do we do to fill the void on New Year's Eve? We drink far too much, become inappropriately affectionate, and wake up in the morning lying on a cold sidewalk in a pool of stale vomit with our wallets stolen. Do you really want to take that walk of shame again? Researchers have discovered that the main reason people overindulge on New Year's Eve and find themselves lost is due to inadequate sidewalk lighting. Wham-It Corporation, makers of the Drone Focus Deluxe, has come up with the perfect product to help you safely find your way home. Wham-It's new PPSD system. PPSD, or Personal Protection Security Drone, is our new automated drone that flies directly above your head to make sure that you find your way home quickly and safely. The PPSD's integrated GPS system will guide you through the most dangerous and poorly lit streets in any country. The PPSD carries a 50,000 lumen helicopter searchlight that
That's right.
Wow. that illuminates the sidewalk in front of your shaky legs.
And burns holes on burns up the insects around you.
The PPSD also detects changes of terrain, like that curb you're about to trip over. To warn you, the patented PPSD's lightning generator will shoot a mild electrical shock at your head to wake you up and alert you of pending disaster. The same lightning generator will deploy a 20,000-volt lightning bolt to any street toughs that may come your way. Powerful enough to completely vaporize a criminal, leaving no evidence behind. And people still wonder what happened to the drummers in Spinal Tap. If for some reason you do trip and fall, the internal high-power LEDs on the PPSD will glow and pulsate. The integrated cell phone into PPSD will automatically call 911 and direct medical teams to your location. Finally, as they load your inert body into the ambulance, the PPSD will automatically fly back to its docking station at your flat, call your director, and notify your production team of your current medical status. So don't chance that dangerous walk home from the New Year's Eve party again. This year, have Wham-It's new PPSD Personal Protection Security Drone guide you home.
Man, this sounds like OnStar for lighting designers.
Yes, actually.
And now, back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those ducks tells us that once again it's time for our segment, Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About segment is, what are our New Year's lighting resolutions?
I can tell you my lighting resolution right now. I am going to read every reference that is sent to me. And then I'm going to call those people up and say, are you serious? Is this, Are you sure you want to put your name on this reference? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call a spade and say, what? What do you mean? What do you mean?
That's good. Yeah.
This person is amusingly quirky. What does that mean? Tell me what that actually means.
Stan, how about you? What's your lighting resolution for the year?
Lighting resolution. I've been thinking that I need to do better. I need to do much better on my holiday lights on the house.
I can give you a suggestion right now.
Go ahead.
How many grad students do you have?
At the moment, 4.
Well, 5 would be better, but 4 can do it. All right, so it's not too late. Get yourself your 4 students, give them a little apple cider, get yourself 4 super troopers, put them in the front yard, and have them spend the night panning your house in whatever this color is that you call Jew blue.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do. And maybe there's someone down the street you don't care for that much. Maybe that light is just going to hit their bedroom window at 3 a.m. I have another resolution. My resolution is just to suck it up and really get good at Vectorworks. Oh. It takes me much too long to draft a plot. I'm still hunting and pecking for things, and if I just manned up and locked myself in my office for a week, I could master that thing.
In 2D or 3D?
In every D.
In every D.
In every D.
What's your resolution, David?
I've got several, but the most important one is I'm going to stop taking every show given to me. I'm going to be a lot more selective.
Can I send you my phone number? Send them to me. I'm renovating the house right now. I need all the work I can get.
I'm renovating my house too. It's starting this spring, so yeah.
Oh, I thought you were finished with that. I saw the drawings on that. I just assumed that had been done.
No, those drawings are done in March, but I finally figured out my finances. So yeah, now I can actually do it. But getting back to my New Year's resolution, I do it because I like the people I work with. But sometimes someone may call and say, we haven't worked together, or do you want to work with this director, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll say yes, because I don't want to lose the opportunities. But what happens is exactly what happened to me a few months ago when I was opening 2 shows in 2 weeks. And one show was about 7,000 miles away. So I think that's a problem. And you end up, cutting off your nose to spite your face because you want to work with everybody. So I don't need it. Thank God I'm at a point in my life where if I turn down a show, it's not going to kill me. I would hate to lose the money, but and the experience, and just, because we all learn things on shows. So that's my resolution. We'll see how long that lasts as I fly to Helsinki in a few weekends.
So let me throw a word out there, David, because I get work offers, and I think of myself more now as a boutique. So I take the stuff that really interests me. That's that. And there are things that come along where it's like, that's not going to be worth it. So yeah, saying no, always getting better at saying no politely, or be more selective in the type of work.
Okay. So Steve has our final question.
And this is Angie in Brisbane. And she asks, since we're at the end of 2019 and heading into a new year, what possible new lighting products or technology do you see changing the industry in 2020? All right, Angie, I'm going to be honest. Not a damn thing. We're not going to see any great anything in 2020. Now, go to LDI sometime, and what you're going to see is it feels like major changes about every 3 years. So I'm going to say maybe 2023. And who knows what those are going to be. But I think, again, we're going to see more specialized lights, things that are akin to the Sharpie, something that does something very specific that no other light can do. So there'll be a few brushes added into the inventory, I think. We're going to see improved LED output. That has to happen. How it's going to get done, I don't know. But the thing I'm kind of looking for is how lights provide texture, or gobos, and I think that's the weak link right now in moving lights. I think the gobo world, the animation world, is not where it can be. I think right now that feature is too limiting, And I believe that's where we're going to see a real change. And whether that means that we start re-exploring what it means to have a light that is digital-based, the light that is more flexible. I've seen a couple products over the years from several manufacturers that are kind of like the Detroit car show cars that are never going to be built.
Concept cars.
But they have some really interesting features on board. I think everybody's trying to figure out how to bring them to market at a reasonable cost. But, I think I want to say gobos. Gobos, and whatever that means, I think that has a lot of room for improvement based on everything that's happening, everything else that's happening in the industry. When you look at the growth of a laser-based engine for a moving light, you look at what's happening with consoles, you look at what's happening with rigging. A lot of things are moving, but not that specific feature.
We could transport ourselves back 20 some odd years and look at the Icon M, which was a digital light engine and had moving gobos. We talked about it a lot, yeah. And now with projectors controlled by technology like black tracks, but that's not next year. That's already here. The question is, what new lighting products or technology do you see changing the industry in 2020? So what new? I mean, this is sort of like the crystal ball thing. And, and is it going to be laser? Is it going to be drones? We always joke about the drone Focus Deluxe. Someone's going to take that name and pay me about $5 million for it, I'm sure. But seriously, I think that's the next thing. It's going to have to be drone-based, but it's going to have to be foolproof. So we'll see. But that would solve a lot of problems, because you wouldn't have to worry about lighting positions.
I don't know about new products, but the technologies that you mentioned, David, I think what would be nice to see as we crystal ball and project into the future, like Steve's talking about the cost of the moving head coming down so dramatically. I'd like to see some of those technologies trickle down faster, like the real-time tracking, like the black tracks mapping with projectors. I'd like to see those things get into the hands of young people who are in schools. Right now, a lot of that's out of reach. And so I think that would be nice to see that those top-end products trickle down fast. It took the moving light a long time to trickle down because it was a gravy train of money and there's more competition. So in this accelerated world that we're living in, perhaps we see that stuff trickle down quicker.
Well, the other question is, it's two different technologies, right? AR and VR.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting because VR has had several false starts. And I think the false start of VR is now behind us. So I think we're going to see advancement in that really quickly. And as far as AR or mixed reality, I think that's going to have all kinds of game-changing applications in the classroom.
Absolutely. And also on the projects themselves. I have to agree with Steve on this one. VR and AR, even though they're not new technologies, they will be able to, refine them and have stronger computer engines and graphic engines so that you can actually really, really take advantage of it in a virtual lighting environment. Well, guys, we're at the end of our last show of 2019. And
Mazel tov.
We made it through another year. We're all still here, the three of us. So we have a lot to be thankful for, even though it's not a Thanksgiving show. But I think at the end of the year, we look back at the year and we say, boy, that year really sucked, or boy, that wasn't a bad year.
We had a good year.
We had a very good year, and we met a lot of new people, and we had some great interviews. And boy, just wait till you guys hear the interview with Mark. That's going to come up in 2 weeks.
That's
a good interview.
That's a beauty.
Thank you, guys. It's been a great year, and we're going into a whole new decade.
Oh, my goodness.
Believe that we've been through almost 2 decades in the millennium.
Is this the end of our second or third year now?
Well, the third year, and that's going to happen.
Third year?
Yeah, third year.
That's crazy. We thought this would last 3 weeks.
Yes, that's true.
That's not for about 10 more weeks.
Yeah.
We start season 4.
Right.
And we're on track to be at 3,000 Facebook followers by the time we start season 4.
It's still growing. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, we're on track for 200,000 downloads too coming up, so that's pretty cool too. So there's a lot going on here, and it's great. So Thanks, guys. It's been a great year, and we'll see you, everybody, next year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
New Year, everybody. And don't forget, don't get drunk on New Year's Eve. It's bad for you. You're going to screw something up, and you just may trip over a curb. Hey, guys, that Hammond organ solo tells us that once again you spent another morning listening to Light Talk. Check out our website on lighttalk.org for our future guests, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk fun.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you choose to litigate, the law firm of Fleck, Flock, Flair, and Glare and their paralegal snoot will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Lone Star State.
And tune in next week where we discuss branding yourself, what to put on your resume, overthinking your design, and targeting follow spots.
And the new sponsor.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning, and Happy New Year, everyone, from Light Talk.
Happy New Year. Stay safe. Bye-bye.